All right, thank you everybody for joining us. This is the Talent Pipeline and Population Recovery Strategy Summit, and this is the general session for the afternoon, Removing Roadblocks to Employment. With us today is Perry Dewey. He is District Superintendent at DCMO BOCES, and I will let him introduce his students in just a moment. Just want to remind you that our session is being recorded, and this will be available through our YouTube channel later this week. Thank you very much. And Perry, I'll go ahead and pass it to you. And thank you so much for this assembly. I know many of us were very, very excited about this program. So thank you.
Thank you, Carrie. Appreciate it. Could you share our screen or can I do that on my own?
I've made you a co-host, so go ahead.
Can everybody see that? Just give me a thumbs up.
Yes, go ahead.
Awesome, thanks. So welcome everybody to this afternoon session. We've been asked at DCMO BOCES to talk about our Career Destinations program. And before I go too much farther, I'd really like to introduce the young men that are with me today that are part of our programs. We have Quinn Ferner. He is to my left, just raised his hand. Quinn is a computer technology student here. And then to his right, my left still, Patrick Mayhood. Patrick is a carpentry student. And then Daniel Hagenbu, who is with us, also a carpentry student. And then to my far right, Troy Marshman in conservation. So thank you guys for being with us today and having some conversations with us as we learn some of the things that are maybe blocking the way for you guys to or your thoughts on what are blockers to you from becoming employed in this region. As we move along, again, the gentlemen will probably introduce themselves, but you can see here where their school district is from. And one of the things that we have really tried to do, I've been the district superintendent here for 5 years, and I did my research on the district. It's been we're going to move some flowers here real quick, I think maybe, or we're going to move a microphone. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. So again, back 5 years ago when I first came, one of the things that I did as an entry plan was to look at the economic situation within the region and the out-migration of students and families from the region, because that's common in upstate rural New York. I was a teacher, an agriculture teacher in my career in small community, superintendent in small community, upstate rural New York farming community, just very similar to the region that we're in right now in Norwich, in Delaware counties, in Otsego County, and Chenango County. And some of the same problems, and these problems exist because of a variety of different reasons, but we put together a task force to look at what we could do to stop the out-migration of talent. These young men that sit in front of us today. How can we keep them here? And what would engage them as employers and as culture and as community to provide them with a living and a lifestyle that they are very interested in? So from that task force meeting, we had legislators, education, business representatives, and community leaders. We developed a career destinations program, basically. We definitely had discussions about how do we keep graduates here, okay? Now, the voices of the employers were very important, right? And in my career, I've been fortunate enough to be a CTE teacher, as an agriculture teacher, so I had very close connections to the community. I really tried to get my students jobs within the community and understood that and saw and witnessed, maybe, if you will, in what I call kind of the chasm between education and graduation and actually employment and getting the job. So some of the things that are common themes, and it doesn't matter whether we're here, doesn't matter whether it's 10 years ago or whether it's now. These still, I think, hold true today. We have job openings. but there's no trained workforce for our jobs. Okay, students come to the job unprepared. Work ethic is missing. Jobs are posted on our websites, but we don't get any applications. Okay, New York State regulations prevent us from hiring minors, giving these folks opportunities to have work experience. And also, we don't have time to train folks, and so we need them trained, and we need them to come to us trained. Some of the research that we've done, definitely from working on and being part of the process as we move through the years, we've held different events. In the career exploration event that we held on March 16th, there was over 500 students in the region that attended that. And as you can see, we asked questions to seek what their opinions were through a post-survey. Okay, top 3 things shared by the students. Connect me with someone who will listen to me and help me sort things out. This is really key. So our Career Destinations program really is to join these things together. And this key point is one of them. Having a mentor as a young person who has navigated and gone through part of a career and has gone out, gotten a job, gone to college, or has gone to training, or came from BOCES and has had training and has entered the work world. How did they do it? How did they navigate it? These are things that I think if everybody thinks back, I think back when I see this to my guidance counselor, trying to tell me and help me get through college, and how hard it was to navigate some of that, because it's kind of a once in a lifetime thing, and we worked really hard to prepare for college or to get out of school, but we never really prepared how to become part of a college or to gain college entry. And so I think that's the experience of a lot of kids, at least when I was young, and I think I hear that as well. So connect me to somebody. Give me a mentor. Give me a work experience opportunity so I can try the job out. I think this is the next, obvious piece here. I wanted to be a veterinarian when I was a child. My own personal story. My mentor was the veterinarian that came to the farm, and I was 5 years old when I knew what I wanted to be. Obviously, I didn't get to be a veterinarian, but our career pathways lead us to different opportunities through life. But that mentor kept asking me as I grew, and he kept coming back to the farm, how my grades were in high school. And that was a big motivator for me to have good grades. Having these 2 things in my life made a huge difference for me. Help me find more information about different jobs in the area, in the region. And I think that's pretty much goes hand in hand with the first 2. This is kind of the age group spread and their results, just to kind of give you an idea. Blue is 8th graders. Eighth graders are thinking just a little bit different than 10th graders. 10th graders are thinking just a little bit different than 12th graders. But the reality of it is the 3 most important pieces here are there. And we can see that their desire for these 3 things to be successful in the job. And if we can provide them these 3 things through career destinations, I think that we can create a difference here. We can make a difference. And I think that we are making a difference. Okay, the other things that we have found, and not necessarily research findings, but just findings that we have, as we've had conversations and, not necessarily quantitative data, is that young audience care about the culture in the company. So, they want to fit. And I don't know if anybody has had the opportunity to listen to Mark Perna when we brought Mark Perna, who was helping us with this effort in the career trees, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But culture is definitely a big item for our students. And as they move forwards, they're looking for also a lifestyle in the region. What opportunities exist I can tell you from my own personal experiences is that I would not be interested in being a superintendent in a large urban area or a city area. It's just not who I am. I'm not looking for that lifestyle either, or that culture. So this to me makes a lot of sense, and I think it does I think it really resonates with our young people today. I have two daughters in, my own personal experiences again. Two daughters in their 30s, their early 30s, and they were very much interested in a different lifestyle and a different culture, and so they live in different parts of New York State. Okay, the next one is onboarding, and I'm going to have to look around our camera here. Onboarding plans that connect them to diverse and inclusion are important. Diversity and inclusion are important. That's correct as well. Many of our students are looking for those types of opportunities. And then I'm going to use my paper copy, and I apologize because I have to do this because I can't read. The camera is in the way. Explain the skills required in simple terms and the opportunities for advancement. And that really is talking about the career tree and what advancements students can have within their own careers. I'm going to get to my paper copy, so thank you for bearing with me. Share with the young audience the information, again, our research, promote the lifestyle and culture, and then diversity and inclusion, share onboarding plans that connect us to the diversity and inclusion, and then in simple terms, explanation. All right, that all being said, I think one of the other connecting pieces that we have at this point in time, and I think it's very important with our education, is some of the work of Bill Daggett, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time here, but if you look at the axis, you'll see that at the top of the center axis is the process of Bloom's technology, if you will, and then across the bottom is the adaptability into the real world. And so as educators, and I think as CTE people, we look at this and we say, okay, we want our kids to learn in the adaptation or the D domain, so that they should be able to evaluate, synthesize, and analyze their work in school and with their skills, but they also need to be able to apply them, if you look down at the bottom, in the real world and be in unpredictable situations so that they can make good decisions. And many of our kids at CTE, and I think the gentleman here today will talk about this quite a little bit, their experiences are really in that D domain as education, which is the closest to the real world work that we can provide opportunities for our students to learn in so that they're successful in careers. And so this is why this rigor and relevance framework is extremely important for us. All right. Now, moving on, it's time for our students to have some time to talk with you and chat with you. And so at this time, we'll do our panel. And first up is going to be Quinn. And Quinn is going to talk about what matters most about a company that you want to work for. Quinn. I think it's coming handy. Go ahead. Turn it in.
Stop sharing.
I'm going to stop sharing now. There we go. And Martha's running the camera for us. Thank you, Martha.
All right, so when I joined the job market, one of the first things I'm going to look for nowadays, especially after the last 14 months or so, is job security. Not only security in not getting laid off, but security in having a consistent amount of hours and pay and stuff. Another thing I'll look for is ability to make that job a career. So with like retirement plans, benefits, stuff like that. And also ability to grow within the company, not only monetarily, but also through achievements and my role that I play within the company.
All right, thank you, Quinn.
Perry, can we ask questions in between, or would you rather us wait till the end?
If there are questions, we can answer in between, yes.
I'm going to just start out because this is something that we've been talking about a lot today. So a lot of the things that you talked about, thank you for sharing, is, you know, about the career and the company. What are you looking for in terms of like life? Like, you know, what kind of culture, what kind of other resources do you, I mean, you're still young, but you might have an idea of the kinds of things that are important to you in terms of outside work life. What are those things that you're looking for?
So like, are you asking for the community outside of work or like?
Yeah.
So I think that that's going to be subjective to everybody, but I like to see a good separation between work and community. You know? Like I don't want to be bringing that back to where I am, but.
So like extracurriculars, like is that important to you? Like I'm talking like recreation, parks, museums, things like that.
I enjoy hunting, fishing, being outdoors and all that. Yeah. Mainly that kind of stuff.
Okay, thanks. Just curious. And I don't know if everybody else, when they share, that's something we've been talking a lot about, is that culture and the community and what's important to the next generation. So I'm just curious. Thank you.
And maybe our other folks from joining in and talk a little bit about that. We can either do that now or just I tell you what, Carrie, let's just go through our presentations and let's come right back to that question and then we'll ask all of our panelists, okay?
And I don't know if something changed. It's a little hard to hear everybody. Just maybe speak a little louder.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, the student was a little, sorry, I can't remember his name, was a little difficult. There you go. Thanks.
All right. Our next speaker is Patrick. And he's going to talk to us about what challenges have you encountered when trying to find local jobs.
All right. So I found when I was looking for a job and looking for a local job, challenges that I faced were not only like were they available or not, but discrimination against other people for like having physical incapabilities to do that job. Like, for example, my uncle, when he was working for our company building vehicles, he was building twice as many vehicles as other people, and he was being discriminated against for it. So he did a contest with one of them. He won, and he got fired for it. And that's not fair. In my eyes, it's not fair. So one thing that would be easy is to find supervisors that would treat everyone not only equal, but treat themselves as an equal to you.
I saw that we have somebody that said it's hard to hear. Can you hear better now?
Yeah, I mean, Perry, you sound good, but it just sounded a little garbled.
I think we're having trouble with our speech.
Is it possible for the student to come and stand where you are to speak? Is that a different microphone right there?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Try to recap what you just said.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, try again.
All right. So challenges I found facing like when I was finding jobs around local like towns and like the county and all that. There were challenges not only were they available or not, but people like being like discriminated against for having the physical capabilities to do that job, like fairness and equality. I like to do that. So, for example, my uncle, he was building vehicles for a company. He was making the company $250,000 per truck every day, which is a lot of money for a company to make vehicles for one truck. So he was outdoing everyone around him, and he was being discriminated against for it, and he ended up getting fired as a result, which is not fair. So I feel that find people that are fair and like equal to the people around them, but treating themselves as equal, like as an equal to the people around them as well, because it's just not fair nowadays, because people are like, okay. Okay. All right, our next speaker is Daniel Hagenboom. Daniel, I believe your question is, what can employers do to attract young people to the workplace? Or am I mistaken? Okay, culture to attract. So Daniel, please.
So I think that a lot of employers should start going after students and attracting them into the workforce and jobs in general at a younger age. I think that a lot of students don't know about all the other opportunities there are outside of college and other jobs that schools have enforced onto them. And a lot of the options that we have learned about working here, a lot of us would have never known about until we started coming to BOCES. And I can say personally, most of the employers that I spoke to coming here, I would have never heard of. So I think a lot of employers should start going into schools and doing more job fairs and speaking with students at a middle school and even like 9th grade and 10th grade even. And by doing that, you can get more students going to BOCES and other programs like BOCES that will give them more training and have more students that are ambitious and trained going into the workforce ahead of time. And I think it will increase by doing that, like getting students intrigued at a younger age. Does anybody have any questions?
Okay, we'll wait on questions until the very end. Okay.
Okay.
Troy's up next. Troy Marshman's with us. And Troy's question was, how easy is it for you to find available jobs in the region?
I've found just looking around town, like you can see signs out in lawns and windows and everything. But actually people going in and asking about the jobs that they offer and that are available, even for their skill set, is tough. Because people won't get up the courage to actually go in and ask for a job. And then you can Facebook, there's a lot of advertising around there. A lot of people are on Facebook, but it's hard trying to find the site and what jobs offer.
And sometimes it's hard to you said this the other day, sometimes it's hard to actually find the posting and then navigate filling out the application, things like that. So it can be difficult that way too. All right. With that, we are here and we have some time now for questions, Perry. So if folks want to ask questions, we would definitely feel good.
Well, I think some of the, some of the discussions, like we talked about earlier, it's the quality of life. So I know one of you already sort of answered that, but I think, the other thing that some of our employers, I think it's important for them to know what you students, what you sort of think about the community. What do you think about the area? What's important to you with a company? The last session that I was in, they talked about company culture. What is said about companies online, it's not only the company looking at you, but it's also you looking at the company. So, I'm just sort of curious when you think about the big businesses and the industries around Chenango County, what are some of your thoughts, and do any of them stand out to you in a positive way, and why is that? Yeah.
So when it comes to companies like interacting with the community, so I don't live in Chenango County. I live in Madison County. I live in Earlville. And one thing I've seen more recently is when I was younger, we had the Earlville days during the summer, and communities would do more stuff. Companies would do more stuff within the community. But often we've seen that dying out over the past few years, just as more small businesses starts to give way. There's not much interaction with the community.
Thank you.
Anybody else talk about, when you're doing this stuff, if you guys would, when you're the answer, you might. Daniel, why don't you, talk a little bit, Daniel's kind of unique because Daniel, if I can put you on the spot. Daniel, lived in, Arizona, I believe, for some time, and now has moved to New York, so we were chatting a little bit about some of those differences as well. Not necessarily in work, but, in culture. So, I guess maybe Daniel, what's your experience?
So, one thing I've noticed is people around here are a lot different than down there because a lot of it has to do with the environment. A lot of people here are able to work out in the cold, and when I moved up here and I started going to BOCES, my first winter was horrible. So I think that one thing that would be really important is for a lot of outsiders, a lot of America itself is a lot warmer than the area around here. Just like getting students and just workers in general that are outside of the area, just like more prepared for the winter time and working out in the cold. I think that would be something that would help a lot, like just by possibly maybe getting more winter gear for workers and stuff like that. But that's just a thought that I have.
So not just working, but playing in the snow, right? Right? And learning that, that's definitely something that is an attraction for some people and it's a detraction for others, right? Okay. So it's interesting, the comments that you have about that. Again, it's part of the lifestyle that Perry's talked about and what we were talking about here, through destination. If you're a skier or you like to snowmobile or if you like to be outside in the wintertime and enjoy that activity, those activities really are attraction in this region. Anybody else? Questions on the lifestyle? Okay. How about culture in the company? I know that Quinn answered some of that, but what are you looking for from a company? If you could pick your perfect placement, and what would it be? Describe it for us.
So I think that something that a lot of employers should start doing, and just workers in general, is trying to have a better relationship with the workers around you and your employers and management in general, because I know a lot of people will have resentment towards their managers because they have a higher pay raise or plenty of other reasons. And I think that employers should also try to just be more friendly with their employees. Not saying that there aren't employers out there like that, but there are also experiences that people in my family have even had where their employer was not the greatest and a bit of a killjoy and making it hard to work for them. So I think that a lot of employers should try to have a better relationship with their employees.
Anybody else?
Does anybody else attending have any questions for our students? We have a lot of employers and companies represented here today, so.
While we're talking about like culture within a company, one thing that I feel like is lost, especially within bigger companies, is not the ability to state your problems directly to your manager that's right ahead of you. Often you have to go through the HR department, something like that, to figure out problems. I feel like having a more like open way to solve problems just with like your initial levels of management instead of having to go through a bunch of hoops just to get stuff figured out.
So more of an ability to talk directly to somebody versus having to go through various steps, is that what you mean?
Yeah.
And many of the companies that we have processes for that already. They are definitely looking for ways, and that's what today's all about, is for a lot of our employers in the region. How are they
going to recruit you as a talent? How are they going to keep you for the long haul? Because once they make an investment in you, right, they're looking to, they have to make money. And that's very important for not only them, but for you. And as we move forward, I mean, first off, you know, at this point in time, with the economy and, you know, the things that are happening in the world, job security is key, right? That's something that our younger people are thinking about as well. But it's very important for days like today for us to get as much information as possible. Other questions?
Any of our attendees?
For the students, where do you go to actually explore the job opportunities in the area? Do you go to company websites? Do you, when you drive by a building, do you ask yourself, what do they do there? How do you explore these opportunities?
Me personally, I will go, and if the company does have a website, I will look it up and see if they are offering and what careers they might have to offer to me. And then, like I said, driving through different towns, seeing the signs out, I might stop and ask what they do for work and other things like that.
If I could add to what he just said, an opportunity that we have here at BOCES, and I don't know if all BOCES have this, but we have for people to help us, they tell us jobs in the area that we can get maybe over the summer, or jobs we can get while we're at school, and also ideas they have for years. They do all that research, they find jobs that are hiring for the skills that we get in our technical classes. But that's not really an opportunity that people who maybe don't come to BOCES or a similar program have. So most of us, like, we've had jobs just thrown in our face by this constable, like employment maybe here at our school. But I don't know, other students who maybe don't leave their home school don't have that opportunity. But yeah, that's just how we can find a job.
So the career counselors is by the way that work with our students for sure.
It's good that some of them actually have the self-confidence to open a door up and ask somebody that they don't know what they do in the building or what kind of jobs are available. That's a very tremendous thing for your young people to have that skill.
Right, any other questions for us at this time?
Are you worried about job prospects after you graduate? Do you feel like you'll be able to find what you're looking for? Or, and I guess the other part of that is, are you looking locally or do you want to go somewhere else?
So me personally, I am in the area. I have a job waiting for me in Colorado, but I know a lot of students have just even here have trouble finding opportunities. I have multiple friends who have been trying to find jobs in a lot of places, don't want to hire them either because of their age or their inexperience. So I think that I just think more employers need to reach out to students instead of only students reaching out to employers. Like he said, we have this possible helping us find jobs, but I think that if we were just shown the opportunities we had, it would be a lot easier because once again, like he said, most students outside of BOCES don't know about all the opportunities that we have.
So kind of a follow-up question on this. You think that your counterparts that don't attend classes at BOCES Center maybe are less aware of the job? Going back to Tom Pierce's question about how do you find a job? So do you think that your counterparts that at the home schools don't come to
same level of understanding of doing that?
No, I don't really think so because a lot of the counselors in our home schools, it's, they see two things. They see college and military, really, for most people. And so I think it would be good for some employers to just reach out to maybe the counseling departments at our schools. Instead, they kind of just push college and aren't looking to help beyond that. But yeah.
Yeah, I agree with him on that because, like, if we've been in kindergarten up until now, our last year of school, everyone's been pushing on to us that we need to go to college and become like a doctor or a physicist or something like that. And it wasn't until I chose by my own device to come to BOCES that I learned how many opportunities there were out there. Most of my counselors before this were trying to get me to go to college and become a paleontologist because I have a lot of experience with stuff like that, and I've always had an interest in it. So that was something I was always having to push on me, but I would have never even thought about doing anything like this until I learned about the BOCES program.
And that actually, when you look at it, that's actually one of the things that is important about the destination program in itself, is that the BOCES takes in about 44% of the juniors and seniors in the region. And so there's 56% of the juniors and seniors that are still in the home school that maybe don't have a lot of career readiness or preparedness. And so that's what career destination is really about, is to reach out into the school districts and try to move programming and opportunities and connect employers. And this is the huge thing, right? You just said it. Okay, to connect our employers in the region to that vast group of students who don't have the opportunity that you guys have connections to the employers. I would dare say that the employers that are here listening today, we probably have connections with most of them within this region. I think our arsenal, if you will, or the number of contacts that we have with regional employers is about 250 across the board. So you guys have I guess a front row seat with that. And I think our employers are looking for a variety of different skill sets as well. And some of the skill sets that we provide you are the skill sets that they're looking for. So, that connection and that fit is important. And you guys talked about that. So, other questions or other thoughts, actually, anybody on this listening have? I think that we've done a pretty good job of explaining career destinations a little bit. We're used to it. Some of you may have been part of the development of it, but does anybody have thoughts about where we need to go to connect with our employers and connect our kids with employers? Is there something we're missing?
I think sessions like this, I mean, I'll just start it off and see how everybody else feels about it. The more we can be in front of students and talk about what's available in the community. I know I personally am starting to go out more into schools and talking to middle schoolers, high schoolers about what Chenango County has to offer, let them know more about, like what it is that we do for their future, the things that we're working on. I know Steve goes into schools all the time and talks with them about, different trends in manufacturing. He does training. I think the more we can get in front of that next generation to talk to them about it is the way that we're going to do this, because they don't know what the community has. They don't, they think manufacturing and they think it's just, being on the floor. They don't understand it's IT, it's finance, it's marketing, it's administrative. I think letting the students, the next generation, know that there's so much more to some of these jobs that we're known for. And that there are opportunities here. There are chances to get involved. There's places to volunteer. We're always looking for people. If you show an interest, we'll put you to work somewhere. And I think it's half the battle sometimes is being asked. But I think the more we can get in front of the students, the more of those connections that we can make. I guess I'll leave it open for any other comments about that.
I think Perry's very accurate in her statement. We have to be very purposeful. And I believe we're in a critical moment in the region where if we stand to lose more students and population in the region, and even in upstate New York, we need a critical mass in order to maintain the communities that we have and the schools that we have and the way of life. So it's very important for us at this point in time to get this type of work done. And I am so happy for the opportunities that today provides us, not only for our students here, but also for the communities that we're serving. Huge, huge opportunity here for us to make some significant change in the region, and keep our industries and keep our economy and keep growing in Chenango County as we move forward.
Any other questions or comments from any of our attendees?
Would you like the kids to talk about the career tree?
About the what?
The career tree and some of the work that Mark Perna has done. I know we've got a few minutes, but not a lot of time. Up to you.
Yeah, if you'd like to have them talk about that for just a few minutes. Yep.
So part of the career destination was to invite our national career developer to BOCES. He has been with us for a couple of years, and his name is Mark Perna. And if you Google Mark Perna, you'll be able to find his work on the internet. And he has worked with our teachers, all of our individual teachers in the career tech program. And we developed career trees, which is a process in which students can look at a field, a career field, and then see a progression of life. So there's basically 3 levels. Does anybody want to take over where I'm leading off here? Do you want me to keep going, then? Anybody want to talk about your career tree personally?
Sure. So for my class and other classes, the career tree is really just like a guide. So it shows us what we can get in an entry level career with maybe just the technical skills and the certifications we would acquire at OCs. And then beyond that, it shows what we can get with a little farther education, and then like top, like masters, stuff like that, later on a 4-year degree, what we can get farther down the line in the field that you're interested in. And it just shows us the options we have available to us right away and farther down.
Okay, in Quinn or one of the other government, the tree has roots in the stem. And the roots in the stem of the tree represent some different topics or pieces that you need to develop during school, right? What are those, and what are you doing? How are you doing those in class? Troy, you want to take that one?
I know in probably most of these classes here, they really try to develop everybody's leadership skills and trying to adapt situations that may happen in the workforce and later on even in just life. So they really try to push everybody to try to do their best, what they can do, and what even they can do in the future. Should try to better everybody here.
Okay, so talks about employable skills, right? What you're talking about, Troy? Anybody else want to expand on that?
So I think another big thing is for the ones that I especially know about is the conservation and carpentry program is especially the carpentry program. Last year we started, and we would have had it finished last year. We were going to be starting another one, but because of COVID, we weren't able to. But we built a modular house, and not very many students have the ability to say that they've built a house, but our class thinks that we've done that, and they spend their entire day working, as far as I know, out with heavy machinery and stuff like that. So a lot of us have a higher chance of getting into possibly the even second level jobs rather than immediately having to start with entry level jobs, because we have experience that you might get from being in a entry level job.
And going along with the skills portion of it, sometimes we're limited. For example, there's a huge need for CDL graduates. Right? But at this point in time, it's hard for a student to graduate with a CDL because of the age requirement in order to be able to be fully licensed. That's problematic. Some of those things, again, career destinations, talking to legislators, talking about the problems and the issues we have, trying to break down those barriers. Anybody else have some things to talk about with the career tree? It's been a good addition, yes, to our program. And it's been a pretty good guide for you at this point, right? Teachers talk to you about the opportunities and different jobs on the career tree and where they'll go, and skills that you need to play.
So another thing that we have here at BOCES that each senior, sometimes juniors, we are required to go out for 2 weeks on work experience to a company in the area within our field of interest. For example, I went to the IT department in my home school, did work there for 2 weeks. So if you're getting someone who comes from BOCES, more than likely, if they're applying for a job, they have already had experience in that field. So they know what they're getting into, as opposed to some people who might not. They would likely have recommendations.
That's a good way to build your resume and actually see if you're interested in the field that you think you're interested in, right?
All right, so we just have a couple minutes left. Is there any final thoughts from you, Perry, or students, or any last questions from our attendees?
I would just like to say thank you for the opportunity. Anything that we can do like this, I know that is going to provide us with opportunities to be able to bring kids and families and students into this region, keep them in this region, and get them good jobs and employment in the good future. And I think this is the work that we really need to do, and it's very, very important work. So I'd like to thank everybody for their interest and thank you for the invitation today. It's been good for our students. I think it's been eye-opening for them a little bit as well today and interact in this way. So thank you so much.
Thank you, and thank you to you and to the students for your time. We appreciate your perspective. You are our future, so we definitely need to listen when you speak. So thank you very much for the time, and hopefully we'll be able to do more sessions like this again in the future. For the rest of our attendees, we have, see, that's what happens when your email's open. We have about 10 minutes, a 10-minute break until our final session for the day. So our closing session is attracting the right people and getting them to stay. Kendall Drexler from Hospice and Palliative Care of Chenango County is leading that session. So we're very excited for that. That is starting at 2:30. So thank you. We'll see you all in a few minutes. And thank you again to Perry and to the students at BOCES. We appreciate the time.
Take care, everybody. Thank you.